Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and for today's video we're going to be doing a reaction to a video by Moment. I've been liking a lot of the content that Moment has been coming out with, and so he had made a video here taking a look at upcoming banners. This is something I had talked about a little bit in the past on whether it's going to be worth it when it comes to your polls to either poll when the rerun banners for Fine Motion when she comes out, or waiting for her second rerun where she's going to be paired with a better card, Summer Muruzensky. And in that case, you could maybe skip the rerun, skip Summer Muruzensky, and then just pull in this banner and kind of get a double whammy there. And kind of the same thing with Mr. CB and Super Creek. And so what I've talked about on that one is that if you're free to play, that these could be some very good opportunities to really kind of conserve your carrots, especially since making you track, you can kind of make it through depending on what cards you have with just higher race bonus, because it's the most free-to-play friendly of all of them. But you are having to go without the cards through it. Like if you can MLB Fine Motion, she'll be really useful in making you track. But I have not actually seen this video yet on what his thoughts are on it, whether or not you want to do it. So I thought I would just go ahead. I've already kind of asked him and let him know that I'll be reacting to it. And so we'll see what his thoughts are. And now, if you haven't watched the original video, you can go ahead. I'll put a link to it in the description because I will probably be pausing a lot, kind of giving my thoughts on it to try and help people. Because I know one thing, I'm getting all that feedback from not only me, but other content creators in what might help determine what you want to pull yourself. It's unique to a lot of individuals depending on what your luck has been on the other support card banners you have, because we all, at this point, we're going on, like 7 months since the game's launched, or 7 or 8 months, and with all the polls, everybody's accounts are vastly different, as you've probably seen with my account reviews. Some people have very widely different accounts, and so it's kind of unique to everybody. Let's see what he says, though, on these upcoming banners.
Going to be talking.
Let me turn up the volume, though. I seem to have it pretty low. All right.
Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about which types of banners you should focus on. The initial banners,
best banners
or
coming
the
up.
reruns of the banners. For example, the Fine Motion Web card is going to come out next month. It is going to be the first banner in March, but
yes,
there is going to be a rerun banner way down on the line, which is going to feature another strong speed card, which is going to be the Summer Muruzensky speed card. However, it is about 5 months after the initial banner for Fine Motion.
That's quite a ways away.
So this is going to be take two. I'm going to give you both perspective and
he said, like he mentioned it is his take two on it. He did have an original video I was going to react to before it that's a little bit shorter. And so he's kind of reworked it to kind of give the argument from both sides, and so we'll have to see what he says on it. But yeah, it's kind of unique. It is really unique to where you're at on your account and what you can get away with. Like for example, on my side of things, if for example I did not have Limit Break 3 Fine Motion like I currently do, but I had everything else I have in my deck, Fine Motion would absolutely be an easy skip for me, especially if I was like a free-to-play or a lower spender. Now I'm a little bit higher spender, so it's a little bit different. But I have a Nice Nature, I have a Super Creek MLB, I have Ines Fujin, which I'll have MLB. I'll be pulling to get Admire Vega Guts MLB. I literally have everything I need for making new track. And I could easily skip Summer Muruzensky in that case, and then pull on the Summer Muruzensky Fine Motion banner, because I've already got a deck that doesn't really need it, even though it would be good, and that could save me pulls.
About them, and hopefully that will help you improve your future planning. Before I started the video, just know that this is basically my personal opinion. You can freely have your own opinions. So let's start with the Fine Motion banner. If you're going to pull on the Fine Motion banner next week, you are going to be paired with the Kame Kame Princess speed card. It is not the best speed card, but it's not terrible either. You can find some usages off of this card,
Yes.
but it's not
Very good
like
team trials
a
card.
very strong card compared to the other options that we have. And
I
then,
mean, it's got 10% race bonus and very cheap gold skill for team trials that'll be consistent in activations. So if you do pull on this banner, this card isn't like terrible, like it's useless. You will get value out of it.
we have Find Motion. Find Motion is the strongest wick card in the entire
Yes.
game currently.
Oh yeah, if he had a mistake on his speech. Yeah, it is next month. It'll be one of the first ones next month.
Global,
Not next
and it
week.
will stay like that for a very long time. So, if you pull on the Find Motion banner, you will enjoy yourself having an extremely strong wit card overall for the entire duration of Make a New Track, and that is going to
Yes.
be something powerful.
That is pretty
And then in
significant.
Mid-July is going to be the release of the Grand Life scenario. You will also have a very good card for that scenario. Until the release of Ramonio Wit, which is going to come out about November of this year.
Yes, and but I will say, I don't know if he's going to mention it. With Romano Wit, when she comes out, she is going to be stronger overall than Find Motion, but we're still going to see value out of using double Wit decks, and you still also kind of have to take into consideration the gold skills. She's outright better on that side of things too, though. But you're always going to have to. So even though Find Motion will kind of fall off in the sense of no longer being the strongest, it's kind of the same situation Nice Nature is in right now. Nice Nature is not stronger than Find Motion, but you're going to use her with Find Motion, and she's going to be very strong together.
So,
it's going to be the same case there.
This is where Find Motion starts to get a bit of a competition, where this card is just outright better than Find Motion. So now Find Motion descends to the second best card in slot. Then we have the Grandmaster's scenario.
In the main thing is stat sticking.
Find Motion kinda just falls off because the other cards have more speciality in what they give, or just have better growth compared to Find Motion. The other banner is going to be Summer Marzensky Festa Wit card.
The card that kills Summer Marzensky the Uma.
Because these are future banners, and the Summer Marzensky is going to be paired with Find Motion. If you pull now on the Find Motion on initial release, you will enjoy a card in Make a New Track. I know it is a 5% race bonus card, but 5% race bonus does not make a card unusable.
Yes, and that's one thing that when I make another follow-up video to Make a New Track, like I've said, Kita-san Black's a little bit weaker going into Make a New Track because of the 5% race bonus, but she's not useless. You just have to balance it with your other cards. A lot of people should have like Nishino Flower Power, as well as the free Marvelous Sunday Power that both give 15% race bonus. Like the main target goal that most people are going to have for your race bonus is 60%. And I just like to think if you want to bring a 5%, just try and offset it if you can with a 15%. And especially if you're like if you're a whale and you're like MLBing all the best cards, I mean, you can afford like 2 or even 3 race bonuses depending on what you're doing. Because if you MLB Nice Nature, right there's 15%. And if you go and get MLB like Admire Vega Guts and you're going to go to the Guts build, right there's 2. So now you can afford 2 5% within that and still hit that threshold of 60%. So something like Summer Mruzensky, Kita-san Black, a really big one that's definitely not being talked about by anybody is Ines Fujin, which is a 5%, but very strong Guts card. There's a lot that can be done still.
You will see that once Make a New Track comes out, you will realize that for the most part you're still probably going to use Kita-san Black or other cards. Just know that 5% race bonus is enough for a card to be playable and Make a New Track. So this card is usable and Make a New Track. However, this card is essentially like 1 month before.
Yeah, it's right before the end.
Scenario
it basically you're only going to use this for a month because it's I think one champions meeting. I think there's only one champions meeting where this is going to have value. because the sprint. You can use this in the sprint, but I don't know if front runner is going to still be meta or not. I haven't really. Well, no, we'll have access to angling then actually because it's got a corner. So this could be very, very strong in the sprint as well if you want to go with the front runner build for sprints.
Japanese version. So it's probably going to be about 2 weeks. So you will enjoy it for like a decent beta, making a track, big 2 weeks, and then once we get to Grand Life, this card will truly shine and be
the anticipation for making you track is through the roof. Yes,
it will be very good too.
I think it is definitely
it's still going to be decent,
really high, which is really good to see. Hopefully, people do like it with how long it is.
Festa Wet, it is essentially an upgraded version of the Asar Dober Wet card. It essentially has overall better stats because the trading effectiveness is higher.
Yeah, this one's kind of a generic. If you do MLB it through the process of pulling for Summer Mruzensky, the problem is you don't, if you're a free to play or not, or like a lower spender, Summer Mruzensky, you do not need MLB. She works just fine at 1 limit break. She unlocks like all the important stuff. And so you're very unlikely to get all the way to limit break 4 here unless you pull her like crazy. So your best case scenario is probably going to be like around that 1 limit break if you go to 200 pulls. If you have to go to 400, which, sorry for your luck on Summer Mruzensky, if you go all the way to 400 pulls to get limit break 1, I mean, I could see limit break 2-ish on here. And that one's just, you don't have the race bonus. You're not using this in making you track if you're around that spot. And the training effect, I mean, you still get decent training effectiveness, but even right now in Unity Cup, and Grand Live and Grand Masters, like even though it's not going to be race centric like making you track, race bonus is always going to be nice to have because you're still racing and the stats you get off them still has value.
Effect is higher. It is a complete roamer. However, this card is going to be good if you want a strong roamer with card in general and you do not know what to place, because this card has 10% race bonus, which is nice. It has a unique effect where 20% chance.
Like I said, you're very unlikely to get limit break 4 on this one because if you're going heavy into pities, you're going heavy into pities for Summer Mruzensky. You're going to have to pull this card. You're not pitying this card. So you can't really count on it being a high limit break.
Which is very powerful. If you are low on energy and this card gets on an extremely good trading and procs this effect, it's kind of rare, but the value will be extremely high. This is essentially a very high rolling card. Then we have the Summer Mruzensky speed. While limit break
the big
is
25%
for you to be able to use this card comfortably. However, for making the track, you will essentially need 3 limit break for the 5.
Now here's the big negative on it too. And you need, like he's saying, 3 limit break, but you really only need limit break 1 for it to be usable in the future.
Present race bonus. For the limit break 1 versus limit break 3, a lot of people tell you 1 limit break is fine, and I do agree. It is usable at limit break 1, but at limit break 3, you get yourself more specialty priority and most importantly the hint level. At hint level 2, that means that when you get a hint for the Summer Mruzensky speed, you get level 3 hint instead of level 2 hint. While it doesn't sound like a lot, keep in mind that if you get the same exact skill from Summer Mruzensky speed at 3 limit break, you essentially cap the hint level for that skill, which means that the pool is
limit at hint 2 you hit it twice and you have it max. 1 you have to hit it 4 times. It's why in the future the cards that have a ton of skills but hint level 4 are very good, and to a certain extent, especially since they have very high hint frequency on a lot of them. There's some that have like 100 on the hint frequency on future cards, and that'll start being a big player. I mean, it's one way they buffed. People probably don't really like the card because it's not I mean, it's still fairly bad, but the gold ship stamina card, one of the buffs that they brought to that one, I believe it's the gold ship stamina one, that it has hint levels 4 now, and I think it has a decent hint frequency. And so even though it has a lot of hints, every time you get a hint, you immediately max it out. and it's just you no longer will get it. So as if you can keep hitting their hints, you'll just slowly go down the list and unlock a lot of them. Her problem is she's just got a wide variety that don't really gel together. In the future with cards, we're gonna start seeing like this is one card. It's only hint level 2 though, but all of the hints are very good for front runners. In the future, we're gonna see that all of the hints are good for medium, or they're all good for late surge, or they're all good for this or that.
Itself will be reduced because it wouldn't give you a max hinted skill anymore. However, for one limit break, it would require you to click 3 times for that to happen.
Yeah.
The unique effect is going to be extremely strong, especially in Make a New Track. It gains 5% trading effectiveness pure level.
This one's a little tricky. I make a new track. Towards the end, yes, I can see it.
Of the current trading facility.
The leveling's a little bit different in it.
This is extremely powerful.
But yeah, it's basically the summer only because you're not really leveling. If I'm not mistaken, when I've watched a lot of the general strategies, your main trainings are only during the summer. But that is very strong on it because you don't need the rainbows for it. So if you're pairing this with like the guts build and this lands on guts with the guts cards, you're just popping off on that thing.
Especially if she lands on a wit training instead of speed, and there's a couple of wit cards over there, guts even, power, speed, it is going to be extremely strong in the summer period. And of course, later on, when in Make a New Track, you will get your trading facility level to potentially level 3, level 4. So it is essentially an upgraded version of Pika Pegasus. Let's say you skip the initial banner. So this banner is
oh man, all the other pop-offs here we got coming up.
And also
this one's a must pick up for your front runners. This one power creeps our current Mihono Bourbon Wit. This one has got the gold version of Groundwork, and it has front runner savvy. So you'll already have one of your greens for it right on that card.
The Summer Barzinski card together. So the value on this is going to be extremely good. However, you wanted to consider, when does Fine Motion fall off? Fine Motion only has about 5-ish months of relevancy before she completely falls off. 5 months is practically a scenario worth of length.
See, this is where I'll kind of disagree to a certain extent, and that is the fact that free-to-plays, I mean, it depends on the person, but free-to-plays are always going to be, to a certain extent, behind. And so you're not going to be able to pull on every single meta banner. When you look at the banner with Major Romanu, she's going to come right before the PAL card, like 2 banners before the PAL card drops, the Goddess card. Plus, there's a bunch of other decent, not complete, I mean, they're going to be meta cards for track specifics, but they're going to be decent ones. And so you're not always going to, as a free-to-play, have the meta. And so Fine Motion will last. Like, she's not dead. You're just not going to have the best of the best card anymore. It'll end up being the difference between right now, if you didn't have MLB Kita-san Black and maybe you were using MLB SR Sweep Tosho, and like in the beginning when you just didn't have the strong SSRs, and then you had to use SR cards. In the future, you're just going to probably be a little bit behind on some of your SSRs, but you'll be using MLB SSRs. They just aren't going to be the latest ones. So I think Fine Motion has relevancy a little bit longer for certain people, depending on which ones. Because you'll probably be able to MLB like 1 or 2 of the most recent best of the best cards, because you have your crystals you can use, your pulls that you're going to dump on them, which will be mostly the PAL card banners, which she's not on the PAL card banner. She's on the start of the scenario banner, so she will get free pulls, but then you still need to save some pulls for that Goddess card, because that's going to be very important for the Grandmaster scenario. And you're always going to be in that slightly behind. So Fine Motion, if you pull here in MLB it, you can still continue to use it past Grandmasters, in my opinion, because you're just not going to have the pulls to constantly be up to date with the latest. Yeah, Romano replaces Fine
In
Motion,
November,
yes.
which is only 2
But then,
months after,
like I said too, you're going to be using 2 wit cards together. So you'll have Major Romano, and you'll use her alongside Fine Motion if you do a 2 wit or a 2 wit build. And then when we get the next power creep, which I believe there's a ton of good wit cards that are scenario specific in Grandmasters. Depending on your deck, you might borrow them. One of them being like I think this is the TM Opera wit. Can't remember what this one is. I think, but there's a ton of random wits that are very track specific or position specific you can use. And so then you would borrow them and use your Major Romano, and then that's where Fine Motion falls off. But if you don't have her MLB, and these cards, like 90% of your, if you're free to play, are not going to try and MLB them anyway. Fine Motion's still going to have a lot of value.
Banner, you will get Ramiro Wit, which means that Fine Motion kinda just falls from being the best card almost instantly. 2 months is not really a good investment. However, I will talk about my perspective on if you should pull on this banner or not. Just keep that in mind. Because in December and January, you have Mihailo Bourbon Wit, you have Ashton Machad Wit, you have also Opera O Wit. There is a lot of wit cards in the Grand Masters scenario, which
you're not MLBing all of them.
Motion not the best card.
You're not gonna MLB. There's a lot of big cards in there.
Mr. CB. Mr. CB is going to originally come out on late April, which is of course going to be next month. So this card is extremely good for egg closers because this card has Daring Strike.
Daring Strike, yeah.
Is essentially probably the second most important skill after straightaway sport. In maps that require you to have straightaway sport.
Kind of like having a mini gold
this skill
ship
is essentially basically the gold ship version unique, but on a gold skill.
He's saying the same thing I'm saying.
Usable
Yeah.
at 1 limit break. However, once we start moving more and more, you would like to have more limit breaks so that this card doesn't fall off with the trading. Next up is Tokai Teo. Tokai Teo.
I will say though, the one thing that falls off for her, Mr. CB herself is a very good Uma herself, and so she can't use this card. So Admire Vega Power will actually have some value for Mr. CB because she can't use her own card.
Really an interesting card. She is a complete roamer that doesn't have that much of trading effectiveness, but the skills, she has Nimble Navigator, she has
this is the one paired with Mr. CB?
It can work sometimes, it just depends. This card isn't really going to be mainly used for that much, so you're mainly pulling on Mr. CB. However,
there's only one SR card that I've seen that you pull for, and that's Admire Vega Gut.
So let's say you completely skip Mr. CB. I don't really recommend it if you are an encloser player, and pull on this banner. Super Creek is still going to be extremely strong for a couple of long champions meeting. There's about 3 left where the next card that is going to be extremely good and better than Super Creek going to come out. However, in the Grand Life scenario with its mechanics, Super Creek is going to be extremely viable. So what you should do about this banner is, unironically, since Mr. CB can work at 1 limit break, is that you pull on the initial banner to get maybe 1 limit break on Mr. CB, and then later on you pull on the Mr. CB and Super Creek card.
Now, I will say, if you're in a situation like myself and you have MLB Super Creek, one negative of pulling on banners with other cards that you don't need is that's taking up 25% of your SSRs. So for me, it's going to be a tough situation with this card, just for that fact alone. And it's kind of in an awkward position, and I don't think it has another rerun again after it, and it gets phased out by other cards. And so it can be kind of a tricky one to use, but it is very usable at 1 limit break, because, I mean, I think you showed it. There's very little that you get out of the taking up and limit breaks. The biggest thing, I think, would be the recoveries, which are nice because when you're using a high wit deck, being able to use them versus resting is how you can get your really high rolls, which at limit break 1, it's only 3 versus 5.
Extremely viable. So what you should do about this banner is, unironically, since Mr. CB can work at 1 limit break, is that you pull on the initial banner to get maybe 1 limit break on Mr. CB, and then later on you pull on the Mr. CB and Super Creek card to get them both to high limit break and potentially max both them out. So that is
this one's, I think, for most people, if you don't have Super Creek, pretty straightforward. You get her to usable state, and then now you can try and MLB her alongside getting your Super Creek MLB. I don't know if he's gonna talk about the Super Creek replacements. It doesn't look like it. Super Creek still has value to this day. You can still use her to this day in the JP. From what I've read, it's definitely not meta by any standards. But there are like track specific ones. For example, with longs, McQueen stamina is very, very strong, and that one will be coming out right after. The bad thing is it's right after the PAL card, Goddess card, but it actually has a heal that works. It's a heal that always happens in the mid race, but not, and it's the same amount of a heal as a normal gold heal like Swinging Maestro, but it also has a speed increase attached to it. I think it's like it's a 0.25. I don't know if it's 3 seconds or 2 or something, but it's a speed increase. That alone makes that much, much better. And then its true power creep will come with Sounds of Earth, which I think will be like 6 months later. I think that comes in the scenario after it. Sounds of Earth having Breath of Fresh Air, which at that point will be buffed, and that one will always activate in the mid-race. But what Sounds of Earth brings with her is she's also got Beeline Burst within her pool of skills that you can pick up, and just as an all-around better stat stick. And then all of those cards become irrelevant when Air Shocker stamina comes out, which has a heal that also has a speed increase, and it's generic. The one that McQueen has is a long only. Air Shockers is just a generic heal you can use in any track that has a speed increase.
As for the Mr. CB and its rerun, here is going to be my thoughts. So whether or not you should pull on the initial banner or you should pull on the rerun of a banner, here is what I would say has a positive and a negative. The positive for pulling the initial banner is that it gives you the full value of a card's lifetime. Every single card in Umamusume, no matter what you are, you have a limited lifetime, which means that you wanted to try to get the maximum
you want to take advantage of it as long as possible.
However, if you do pull on the initial banners, it will make your Ubas much better overall in terms.
And I was gonna say, I mean, Kita-san Black is a clear example of that. I mean, you got to think the rerun of Kita-san Black. You got to get some. I've seen a lot of people that have MLB El Condor Pasa Power, which is a decent card. That is very usable even in Make a New Track with its 10% race bonus on the mediums, because it's got a good medium gold. But I mean, how many people suffered without Kita-san Black? Now, I will say that suffering's a little bit different than future suffering, because once we start getting into Grandmasters and stuff, at that point, a lot of you, the free-to-plays, are going to at least start having MLB SSR decks. They'll just be behind meta. So eventually we'll have like El Condor Pasa speed will drop, and maybe you won't be able to MLB El Condor Pasa speed immediately, even though you're going to pull a crap ton on that one. And so Kita-san Black still has relevance to you until you get to max limit break on El Condor Pasa. So I don't think it'll ever be as bad as Kita-san Black, but I think that is a clear example of, hey, trying to get it early and getting that value immediately is better than delaying.
And then it frees up your borrow slot for something else that can be max limit break. For example, let's say I pulled on the Fine Motion initial banner, and let's say that I ended up with 3 limit break Fine Motion. I currently have 1 limit break, so that means that I only get 1 copy, and then I pity the other copy. So that is fine, because that means that I could use something like the Nice Nature Wick card instead of borrowing Fine Motion. So limit break 3 Fine Motion plus maximum break.
Opening
nice
up the borrow slot is huge.
It's going to be overall slightly better than just using.
This will become even more important in the future.
With, for example,
because
maximum break Fine Motion.
They start making a lot more track specific cards that you're going to want to be able to borrow.
to have a decent amount of carats saved, and you also need to have a good pooling plan from your own. But the biggest drawback, and this is something that I have seen commented a lot, is that you can't pull on much of your favorite Umas. So this plan is essentially, if you do not have that much of characters that you want to pull for, then you should just pull on the initial banners.
There's a lot,
really
lot of big, even Oshis. Not even if you exclude Oshi, your favorites. There's a lot of big potential pickups. Nishino Flower, Kita-san Black, Seiyun Sky Ballroom. If you really want to have, like, you're gonna go into like the Super Creek Mummy types, you got Cheerleader Nice Nature. There's a lot of big, good pickups through Make a New Track. To me, it's more of an Uma pickup scenario. There's more Umas than support cards. If you don't care about getting those, like if you don't care about getting all of those Umas, it's actually a good one, I feel like, to save. Grand Live is gonna be similar. Not as many big pickup cards, which will be very good because you're gonna want to save because there's a crap ton of good stuff that comes out during Grand Masters.
On the reruns, if you do not pull
Nightingale, all this comes down to just hit. Yeah, so just win, just get it first 10 pull.
Going to be pulling on the rerun.
You can
banners.
MLB in 110 pull.
The sad part is that it gives you much less value of a card in its lifetime. The cards already will be at like a multiple months of release already, and if you do PvP, it will make your Umas weaker.
5 tickets is all you need.
Options. For example, if somebody has 1 limit break, someone Marzinski speed, even though it's like a Grand Life scenario, there's still like a decent bet until the rerun happens. So at that initial like 1 to 2 months in the Grand Life scenario, they will make a front runner that is better than yours because they have access to top runner, while your bottom slot is probably going to be locked to something else. However, for the positives is that it requires less overall carats because you are pulling on 2 separate good cards overall. So the amount of pulls that you would need in order to get them to high limit breaks is going to be less. However, again, you are sacrificing the overall value of a card. And of course, it lets you pull more on Umas because you could save yourself a lot of carats there and you could spend it on a different Uma.
Now, I will say it also depends on, do you plan, like, if you're like me, I know I'm going to be playing this game for quite a long time, and so I'm able to conserve to a certain extent. Now, I spend, so that's why I'm able to get these cards, of course. But even if you're not like a heavy spender, if you're planning to play long term, it's just one of those things. You have to make the decisions where you'll be slightly behind, but less behind if you do the good double banners, and you'll just have strong decks. You just won't have the top tier ones. But the thing is, as you've seen with Champions meetings, you don't need the best of the best cards. If you put in the effort, you can still win decently with a high chance, even as a free-to-play. And making sure you can have stronger cards is going to be important for that.
Talking about my plan currently. On the 18th of February, I'll be pulling on the Valentine Mihono Bourbon, which means that my carat
Mihono Bourbon is the most free-to-play frontrunner for sure.
67,000 carats. Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh,
67.
You did it.
1,000 carats. Let's say I had to pity. So now
you had to put that in the video.
57,000. I will go on.
You keep saying it over and over.
I'll probably go to pity. Let's be real. I will only be at like 50,000 ish.
You should always go to pity on. Well, he's assuming Valentine's pity. If you get her early, then you're done. But you should always assume pity. You're pulling on something. I would never pull with under 200 pulls.
Better than in the Make a New Track scenario, since there isn't really that much of great must pulls on Make a New Track, I could just go for the Summer Marzetsky speed card. I know the Naruto Top Road banner exists, the Admire Vega, etc.
This banner is, for most people, I'm going to say skip. Admire Vega is really good. Narita Top Road is pretty good. But Narita Top Road, it's going to be more consistent than Fuku. I feel like Fuku's the better card. Now, I don't think you should pull on either of them because I feel like they both fall off too hard going into Grand Live, even though Fuku's definitely usable. The biggest problem on this one is Admire Vega is an SR card, and while really, really strong, you cannot pity it. Now, if you take into consideration that it has a 1% rate up, and then it's like about probably like a 4%-ish chance to get it on your guaranteed SR every 10 pulls, I think the math works out to being about a 1.4% pull rate. That means on average, every 100 pulls you should, keyword being should, get 1.4 cards, or on a 200 pulls, get around just under 3 or 3, which is exactly what your target should be. Your target should be 3 copies of Admire Vega Guts. But that thing is should. The word is should. This card could just not show up, and you cannot pity it. So you go all the way to 200 pulls, and you're not going to be able to pity it. You go all the way to 400 pulls, and you can't pity it. Now, you do have your SR Crystal, so you need 1 copy to be able to use those, but you're only going to have 2 at the start of the scenario. In about a month in, you'll get your 3rd one. So you want at least Limit Break 1, but preferably Limit Break 2 so you can MLB it right off the bat. And if you just do the math, on average, that should take 200 pulls. If you're below average, you could go to 400. If you're extremely below average, you go to 600. You could very well MLB NTR through pities and a couple pulls before you get MLB Admire Vega. What are the odds of that? Fairly low. It is fairly low. But if you're that like 1% or 2% that gets that crazy bad luck, you just threw away all your carrots. Yeah. Joke's on you, I'll get Admire Vega Guts easily. Yeah. Just know, 1 to 2% of the people that do that are going to get royally screwed.
Not using Guts bells and making you track. There is still this traditional trading overall. Guts is going to be stronger in making you track.
Heck, like 0.01% of people will go 1,000 pulls without getting any copies.
Viable way to apply. So, Admire Vega is not going to be 100% needed if you are not going to be using the Guts strategy. Not the Top Road, of course, is only livable throughout one scenario, much like Riko Kishimoto, unless you had her at Max or Limit Break. And then, after Bikini Track period goes, I go to the Grand Life scenario and pull 400 total pulls on Light Hello, which means that I need to save up about 45,000 carats. In Bikini Track scenario,
yes, big banner. This one, from what I understand, is usable just like Rico at like Limit Break 1, but I believe you get even more of a bonus off of it at Limit Break 3. Someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But it's also paired with a decent speed card that's a link card, Agnes Tachyon Speed, which is usable here and very usable in the next scenario. You'll hear that Agnes Tachyon Speed's going to fall off, but if you're free to play, it's a good speed card that you can pair with Key to Sun Black until you get something better. Like, I mean, if you're not using your Summer Maruzensky, for example. So
you will probably end up going
big pull banner right there
to Grand Life with like 90 to 100,000 carats. So the tax for the PAL cards is not going to be that detrimental. And yeah, that's pretty much it. My opinion, if you want to listen to it, is that I don't really recommend people to wait on reruns. If you are playing the game, like at least for Champions Beating, I know that there is people that do not play Champions Beating, that is fine, but Champions Beating is where pretty much most of the game.
I mean, that's like the end game. If you don't play Champions Meetings, you don't even need to pull at all except for your Umas and get like 1 copy of a couple SR cards. Like if you're just doing it for the story, which I know there are people out there that do that. Man, this is the cheapest game ever. You just continuously save your carrots and pull like 1 or 2 copies of the cards and you can do the story just fine. You just do whatever you want at that point.
And again, keep in mind that you could
wait. 0 to 1,000 is like 0.0. Well, yeah, I was trying to say low. 0.004 versus 0.01. I mean, Yeah, it's a decimal off. But yeah, very, very low. So 4 out of 10,000 people will get royally screwed with how many people play this game? I mean, now, are you going to have that many people that pull for Admire Vega, though, will be the question. But yeah, somebody's going to get royally screwed. That's all I'm saying. Nobody's going to pull to 1,000. So somebody's going to do 60,000 carats worth, and then they're going to get nothing out of that banner.
Player, but if you are just trying to be somewhat of a competitive player, I don't really recommend skipping the initial banners. But
it'll be funny. No, it will be funny if someone like Red New decides to pull for Admire Vega and just doesn't get any copies. Just goes to like 600 plus with no copies. Now, I feel bad, but it would be hilarious. He'd probably make the money back on the video with how bad of the luck would be.
Support cards. But try to not make it very condensed. If you are a free-to-play player, you
probably get a lot of donations from people on after that bad of luck.
You can't have all your favorite characters. You're not gonna have the support cards. So there has to be sacrifices.
Yeah,
made. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you found this video to be helpful, consider subscribing and consider joining the Discord. Link in the
overall pretty good. Yeah, I've watched a lot of Moment stuff. He's pretty good. I mean, he's been growing quite quickly. He's gonna catch up and pass me here soon enough. Been covering a lot of the future stuff coming up. But yeah, I mean, he's pretty much right on everything here. It comes down to your deck. I mean, that's why I'm trying to get back on doing some more of my account reviews that people have put in the Discord. Trying to do those more often because it's very specific to you. He doesn't really mention it on here, but it comes down to your deck too. Do you have something that's usable or viable to push you through? We have people that have MLB Nice Nature. They have they have like you have Kiri-san Black, of course, which is very usable. Maybe they got really lucky on Fuku on these free pulls, and they're going to MLB Fuku. So there you have 3 cards right there. If they're going with the Guts build or the race bonus build, I mean, you have a lot of race bonus cards. You have Marvelous Sunday Power. You have Nishino Flower Power. Like, if you look at all the upcoming Champions meetings, and this is how you really, if you really want to min-max how you're spending your carats, you look at all the Champions meetings and you kind of try and plan out who you want to use, and how you're going to build them. Like I know after the long Champions meetings in Make a New Track, I'm pretty much going to do Guts build for almost everything. So, and with the Guts build, Ines Fujin's going to be my main heal, so I'm going to use a lot of mostly front runners. So I have my heal covered, and then I can use like Admire Vega Guts. I have, and then depending on my borrow could be something like Ikunu, which is a 15% race bonus Guts card, which then allows me to use Kiri-san Black. And then I have my Nice Nature Fine Motion. So I've planned out, and I know what I can and can't skip because whether I'm going to use it or not. And so mine's a little bit easier just because I'm a whale in that sense. But this will apply to everybody else. Can you make it through? I mean, I just did one of the account reviews where someone was looking at skipping Fine Motion, but they literally have every other card. It's just like me in Unity Cup. I did pull for Rico, 100 pulls and then the free pulls, and I got super unlucky. Rico was primarily just a permanent borrow, and because of the cards I had, it wasn't really a problem. Same could be said for Make a New Track, where it'll be a little bit easier for most people, is you have a lot of options. The biggest thing is just trying to hit those thresholds on race bonus and having cards with the correct, with the important golds, at least a couple of them, and then using an Uma that, of course, has some good golds with them. But that is pretty much it. Overall, pretty good. Make sure to go ahead and give a subscribe to him. And then he does a lot of good videos, similar to me on trying to cover future stuff. He's actually gone farther into the future than me. But yeah, very good. That's my thoughts on that. And if you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.